deal with they're not bad. Yeah, y'all blowing green. If you got South Council Club side, because I guess everybody just goes everywhere you are.
If I was retired,
19, right,
I'd
needs to
have
be
to
299.
post all that stuff on Facebook and let the whole town know.
That's right.
But since I
I thought you were retired. You still working?
Since I have a full-time
All
job,
right.
it's hard for me
You do?
to stay on Facebook all day.
Club side. Yeah.
Is it plan for that property that they're clearing out there?
Not that I've known.
They just clear. Sure does look.
I think they're just trying to make it look good.
It's looking better.
Did they turn those houses down? Did they tear those houses down?
Not yet.
Call
No.
me. Let's pray. Dear Lord, we just thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity once again to come before you and the city to do the best for our city, to make our city stronger and better for each citizen. Lord, we just pray that you give the council here tonight the wisdom and the department heads the wisdom to move forward through the discussions tonight. Lord, we pray for this meeting in your name. Amen. All right, let's recognize all council members present. The approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Richardson, second by Mr. Adcock. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? The agenda passes. We need approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Little. Second by Mr. Adcock. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? The consent agenda passes. Moving into our regular meeting, we have one public recognition. I'll bring Sadie up. Take care of that.
See if that works. Well, I have some images I was going to show you. If that turns on for us, we'll see if we can get it going. I can't tell. Oh, I hear noises. Great. Oh, it's coming. We'll let that warm up, and I'll just preface the presentation tonight. In March, the annual Georgia Downtown Association had their downtown conference in Athens, and there's always an award ceremony that goes along with this conference where they recognize excellence in the 4 approaches to downtown development. And they recognize volunteers of the year, special projects, and any professional certification that downtown professionals have achieved. So this year in Athens, Monroe was recognized for three different things. One, professional certification, and 2 awards. And so tonight we wanted to kind of re-celebrate locally the awards that we won, because we're very proud of those. Yes, we want to use that lamp. Okay. Yay, it's working. So this year we were recognized, I received the designation of Georgia Downtown Development Professional. There's 3 tiers, and I've achieved tier 1. There were 3 other professionals. There's 4 of us this year that were recognized for the downtown professional. And then our DDA board won the award for excellence in promotions. So I wanted to kind of read you part of what they said in their presentation, and then also want to celebrate Steve and Susan Brown for Volunteers of the Year Award. So first I wanted to just recap what we won for excellence in promotions. We got our cool little trophy over here, or plaque, the shiny thing over there is what we won. And then we also were awarded $500, which goes back into this grant program. Our promotions award was for the community event grant. And we set this up to encourage private individuals and businesses and organizations to host their events downtown. We do a lot of great city events, but we want other people to come downtown, gravitate downtown, and host their event here. So we created this small grant opportunity. It's a 1-page application, and it only has 2 requirements. One is that it has to happen downtown, and it has to benefit a local nonprofit. So since we started in 2014, we've awarded 4 grants, and some of the great local events that have benefited are the Movies at the Mill and local 5K races. Some of the nonprofits have been the Boys and Girls Club, the Monroe Culture and Heritage Museum, and the American Cancer Society that have all received funds from these fundraisers. The grant, the maximum award is $250. So it's not much, but it matches expenses and makes it possible for people to come together and say, let's do an event, let's do a race, let's have this outdoor movie, let's do this downtown. So we got the Excellence in Promotions Award as a board for our community event grant. The other award that we're very excited about is Steve and Susan Brown. So I'm going to read to you what the Georgia Downtown Association put together and recapping what they've done for our community. Steve and Susan Brown were recognized by the Georgia Downtown Association as the 2016 Volunteers of the Year. The Browns have been collecting local history artifacts, photographs, and oral histories for quite some time. In the past couple of years, the Browns have hosted Monroe Then and Now events in various downtown locations. During these events, Mr. Brown narrates a slideshow of historic photographs followed by present-day images taken from the same perspective. He also tells the history of why so many of the beautiful historic buildings have disappeared over time in our town. These presentations have been widely attended in the community and have been instrumental in raising awareness of the importance of historic preservation. The Browns would organize each event, prepare the presentation, mail out invitations, and partner with local organizations such as the Walton County Historical Society, the Monroe Art Guild, and Monroe Downtown. After each event, they'd sell copies of the slideshow and stories, and though they produced these copies at their own expense, the proceeds would go towards a growing effort to create a permanent local history museum. This dream for a Monroe History Museum was first discussed over 10 years ago, but for one reason or another, the idea never seemed to get enough support to become a reality. We feel that one of the main reasons for this is that the Browns and other key individuals were not yet involved in the movement. Over the past 2 years, Steve and Susan have been an integral part of reviving the museum dream through countless hours of service. They've served on the inaugural board of the newly formed Monroe Culture and Heritage Museum nonprofit, with Susan as secretary and Steve as vice president. They have taken into their home numerous donations of historic items from the community while meticulously cataloging them and sending thank you notes and receipts to donors. Their extensive collection of historic research and photos were the key element making our downtown walking tour app possible, which you can all download on your iPhones or other smartphones and see historic images of buildings downtown and hear the history behind those buildings. There's over 23 stops on this app, and it includes our mills now, and you can really get a great walk-in seeing all these images and historic sites. Most importantly, their faithful dedication and hard work led to the successful opening of the Monroe Culture and Heritage Museum and Monroe Visitor Center last November. During the opening weekend, over 300 people visited the museum. The museum is already reshaping how visitors and longtime residents value the community. Many people gave generously to make this dream come true for Monroe, but behind the effort from start to finish have been Steve and Susan Brown. Historic preservation is at the heart of the Main Street strategy, and we sometimes lose sight of how historic preservation can spur economic development. The museum effort has brought more stakeholders to the table than ever before. Young people are discovering local history, and community pride in downtown is at an all-time high. The Browns' volunteer contributions to preserve our local history have changed the future of Monroe, and for this reason, they're our Volunteers of the Year. So we'd like to bring up Steve and Susan Brown now and get a photo with them, with the council if we could, and just thank them for their effort. Don't mind just kind of coming over here and standing with the Browns, and we'll get a good photo and we'll post it. Thank you, guys.
You might kind of give us a range too. We didn't see
Okay, we'll stand as close together so you don't have to. You go first, Jeff. Okay. Yeah, look there first.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
One, two, three. And move a little closer. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Glad you got recognized for your work.
Now we'll move into the public forum. We have 2 people signed up for public comment, so I'll call your name. When you get to the podium, please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. First one is Cynthia Johnson.
My name is Cynthia Johnson. I live at 506 Landers Street in Monroe. At least a year ago, the city hired somebody to put in a new water line, and so they came through my side yard, and it's still like that. They destroyed some of my property. I have called numerous times on the person that came down there a few times, which was Middlebrooks, Rodney Middlebrooks. He never returned my call. He would never take my call. I even came down here 3 times, and he would not see me. I don't know. So anyway, I've got the pictures here. This is a 5-gallon flower pot that I had sitting out there with flour. They just run over it. You can see where they just went through some flower beds. I had the octagon patio set out right at 100 octagons. I have 68 now. There's pictures where there's parts of them broke. With the ones they did stack, they stacked on top of my flowers. They busted my driveway, which if they had to do that, they had to do that. But then they leave all their trash beside it. Huh? I am. These are just pictures of large rocks that were left in the yard. These are pictures of, they put grass seed out along the road where they had to dig the ditch, and that came up beautiful. But what about all through my whole yard? I need that seeded. And it's not a little bit. And this is my pride and joy. A granite bench. They broke it. This is not a cement bench. This is my granite bench. And they broke it. You know, I don't think I'm asking for too much.
Are you going to leave those pictures with us?
I am going to leave those pictures. I don't understand how come, if Middlebrooks is not the one that I am to get in touch with, how come he just didn't say, you know, I'm not the one? When I came down here and talked, how come I was told to go somewhere else? When I couldn't get him the 3rd time I came down here, I asked for the city administrator. We have no city administrator. So I wasn't getting anywhere, so this is the only other choice I knew to do. No, not at this time. Thank you.
It will be looked into.
Thank you.
Okay. Joanne Powers.
Hi, I'm Joanne Powers, and I live at 112 William Street here in Monroe. And before I start my little presentation, I want to pass out a little handout for you to look at. I have lived in the city limits of Monroe since 2005. I have never had a complaint with the City of Monroe Utility Company until now. I have always had good service, and the personnel has always been professional and helpful. I do have a concern now. In December of 2015, the 4th quarter, and in March the first quarter of 2016, I may have said December 2015 and March of 2016, I received 2 utility bills in the same month that had to be paid. As you can see from my handout, there doesn't seem to be any consistency in the billing periods other than these 2 bills coming due when the quarters end. Because it's not related to the days. I had, as you can see in 2015, some months I had 33 days between bills. But as the end of 2015 approached, the time is getting shorter and shorter between billing. And as you all well know, there are people in Monroe that cannot afford 2 utility bills in 1 month. It's just not possible. And if they don't pay by the end of the month, there is a 5% late fee charge the first thing the next morning. If this is a number of days or a quarterly policy, why can't the first due date, such as mine, be moved by 2 or 3 days so that the double billing doesn't happen? As you know, with a monopoly on most of our utilities, residents in Monroe have no alternative. We can't go to EMC or Georgia Power or any place else. We have to rely on y'all to do our service. If this is a new billing policy, I'd like you to explain the reason for the change, and is this going to happen periodically throughout the year, probably based on a quarterly basis? That's my concern and my request, is for it to be explained to me how the billing has changed so drastically.
Somebody will be getting back in touch with you.
Good question, so we'll find out.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Have any public comments? We'll move into public hearings. Have a rezone 1035 East Spring Street. Patrick.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is petition number 1600078. The applicant, Natalie Gear, requests a rezone for property located at 1035 East Spring Street. The applicant requests the property be rezoned from B1 to R1. The property has 103.8 feet of road frontage on East Spring Street. The property has 2 houses on it. Total acreage is 3.4 acres. The Code Department's recommendation and the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation is for denial of this application. The property is, the requested zoning will not permit a use that is suitable in view of the use and development of adjacent and nearby properties. The change of zoning will not adversely affect the existing and adjacent property. The subject property does not have restricted economic use as currently zoned. The change of zoning will not cause an excessive or burdensome use of existing streets, transportation facilities, utilities, or schools. The future land use plan indicates the property should be commercial/retail. If you have any questions about the application, I'll be glad to try and answer them.
Is that the only reason that you think it shouldn't be rezoned, because of the future use of the land?
No, sir. As we've gone over in the past, there's multiple reasons. They're all based on the criteria that we use for making all zoning decisions. Obviously, the future land use plan is a big part of that. Also, the fact that it's a commercial corridor and that it's been zoned that way for 50 some odd years.
I understand it. It's been zoned like that for 50 years, but we're in a new day and a new time, and things that happened 50 years ago shouldn't have to happen today. My question to you is, what do you see in the near future going on that side of the property? I mean, that side of town?
I'm sorry, but I can't see into the future. We just have to plan for what we intend for the future. What the future land use plan and what I would envision out there would be commercial growth.
Patrick, why are they requesting the rezone?
The stated reason that I'm aware of is that they are looking to have the property valued at a lower rate so that it would lower their tax bill.
Did you look into that?
We did, and Actually, what I looked into was seeing if they could at least apply for homestead exemption, which I was told they could not. John Howard had looked into that in the past, and what he was told, or what, it's kind of hearsay at this point, but what he was told was that it wouldn't significantly impact the value. Ms. Gear has another opinion, and I understand that. That's all the recommendation I have on the matter, and I guess it's the same recommendation as the Planning and Zoning Commission has.
And I did talk to John Howard, and he actually echoed what you said, that there really shouldn't be a big difference in what the pay would be, whether it's residential or commercial. And my question to John was, if you saying it shouldn't be a big difference, what is the problem with the rezoning change? If you feel like there's not going to be a significant difference.
I don't know that the two are related, but the tax bill is not part of the considerations on rezoning action. It's basically whether or not it fits the future land use plan, if it fits in with adjacent properties, and that zoning does not.
But
Mayor, since this is public hearing, should we be hearing from the property owner before we discuss?
I want to make sure all the questions are satisfied with the code officer before we pull up the land.
Okay.
because the reason I asked that was you just indicated that she wanted it changed because of financial stability. And you just inquired that, you just stated that that didn't have a bearing on it, when actually, on her behalf, it does.
Yeah, but on mine, it doesn't. I don't take that into consideration on my recommendation. I use the criteria that I've described to you multiple times.
And what I'm looking at here, there's a whole lot more reason for you to rezone it than there is for you not to rezone it. And that's the reason I'm asking you the different question that I'm asking.
I don't rezone the property. I make a recommendation and I turn it over, put it before the council. You're the body that makes the decision.
We rezone. Patrick's recommendation is going along with the future land use that was set out before councils before us. It is this council's job, if they want to change it, they can change it. His recommendation is based on the future land use of that land. It's not based on taxes, it's not based on anything else. This body has the right to change it or not change it, and that's all we're doing tonight, is we're either going to change it or we're not going to change it. It's not based on taxes, it's based on how to use the land in the future, and that's what we're here for tonight. Any other questions?
It was mentioned that if the property is rezoned, there'll have to be some changes made.
Yes, sir. They would have to comply with the new zoning classification in regards to building setbacks and other criteria that are in the zoning code for that particular zoning classification. It'd have to be subdivided. Each house would have to be on its own lot.
Yeah, they're asking for R1, so you get 2 houses on 1 parcel.
Yeah, that's something that would have to be corrected in order to be in compliance with the new zoning, which would probably require a new survey and a subdivision plat, and that being recorded with the county.
Any other questions, Patrick, before we call the property owner? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Is property owner. Okay, you can address the council. You'll have 10 minutes to answer any questions and address the council. And if anybody is against you, then you'll have a 5-minute rebuttal. So if you'll state your name, property address, and then you can address the council.
My name is Natalie Gear. I live at 1035 East Spring Street. There's also 1039 East Spring Street. There's a rental property onto the 3.4 acres that's in question that is zoned commercial. I'm here today because my land is owned commercial. I do not own a business. I do not operate a business out of my home. I am being taxed commercial, and I know Patrick has a future use plan. However, I don't think it's taken into consideration that the DOT will not give access if a retail or an investor comes in to purchase that property. The DOT will not allow access to Highway 78. I have no plans on selling this property anytime soon. And according to the tax assessor, The difference is tremendous in how they value commercial property as opposed to residential. Currently, my land is zoned B1, and the value is $149,000. If it was rezoned residential, the tax assessor said it would be between $7,000 and $8,000 an acre, which would equivalent to $28,000. So that's a tremendous difference, and of course my tax bill would go down. It has been told to me that Grace Baptist Church is planning on purchasing Piggly Wiggly. I think they've put in an offer. I haven't heard any updates as to whether that's gone through. Churches are tax exempt. Right around the corner there's the Islamic Training Institute that has not yet applied for their tax exemption. However, I've been told that's going to be pretty soon. They'll submit that in, so they won't have to pay property taxes. And then there's a new church that came into St. Anna's, and they're not paying property taxes. I don't mind paying taxes, it's just my homes are residential. I do not operate a business out of them. This is Marlene Pinnell. She lives in there's 3 houses. She's right adjacent. She has an acre.
But I didn't pay to come up here, so I'm not.
She's just here for support. But we pay commercial taxes, and it's not fair. And I understand that there's a future use plan, but there was a future use plan that was implemented in 1953, and I think that side of town is just dead right now. There's nothing going on. And even if there was, I'm not selling that property anytime soon, and I feel that I should not have to pay commercial rate in taxes.
I got a question. You mentioned the value. The tax assessor told you it might be $7 an acre.
7 to 8.
What about the improvements? There's 2 houses.
Right.
So when you add that in at $50,000 a house ish.
I think there's some adjustments with the homes right now. The homes are zoned residential. It's just the land itself is commercial. So
I don't think that works that way. I mean, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure when they reassess your property, if you rezone it residentially, you're going to have about the same value. So you're actually not going to save anything. And I'm just bringing this up because
right.
let's say something does come down the road in a couple of years and somebody offers you $500,000 for that place, you'd probably sell it for that. And it would need to be commercially rezoned. So then you're going to be coming back to us trying to rezone it to commercial at that point in time. And if your only reason is tax savings, I'm just trying to help you.
yeah.
If you have other reasons, then that's fine. But if your reason is financial tax savings, I could be wrong, but I don't see where you're going to save any money.
I don't know. There's a property within a mile of mine. It's on Baker Road, and that was the only property that was. There's no comps available for any realtors or appraisers to come out there. There just hasn't been any residential sales lately. But 237 Baker Road, he has 4.46 acres, and his land value is at $28,000. Now he has a bigger house, more square footage, more up to date, so his house is valued at a little bit more, but his land is at $28,000, and that's why the tax assessor had come up with that.
I mean, I think you're going to be. You might come out of hair. You might save $100. I mean, I'm just guessing, you know. And if you want to do that, then you have every right to. I'm not saying I'm voting against it. I'm just trying to tell you that if you come back,
right.
in
Well,
the future,
I mean, I don't mind doing
you'd
that.
be wishing it was. Most people are here trying to get it commercially zoned.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
Well, I would feel that if an investor does come in and offer me $500,000, they can come back and rezone it commercial. I mean, I may have to help them go through the process,
That's right.
but they would be willing to do that. And it's going to save me a tremendous amount of money on taxes. And I think it's going to save her a tremendous amount of money.
But her house has been there longer than any of the other houses, and I'm saying close to 100 years. So that's when she said not comparable. She's right. If you look at, one street over, Baker Street,
Yeah.
I mean, it was her grandfather's house.
I'm sorry. They referenced earlier that if it's rezoned, there's certain, I guess, requirements and actions that have to be taken under the new zone. Are you familiar with those?
I was just told that it would have to be resurveyed. They would have to come out and look at the land to make sure everything is in up to code, and that's fine. And I'm willing to get it resurveyed if it's rezoned to residential.
Can I clarify that? Ms. Rosenthal, is that a correct statement?
Sure. I mean, basically, unless she then came back before you for a variance, by conducting this change in zoning classification, any non-conforming, what we call grandfathered status, will go away because there's been a change. So once she rezones to R1, she would be subject to our current zoning code. And that current zoning code has not extremely more stringent standards than our old R1, but a little bit more stringent than our prior to 2013 zoning code. But it would require subdivision of the two houses, as I understand there are two houses on the property. It would require all the setbacks to be met, minimum square footage of the houses to be met, all those sort of things. Now, if certain of those elements could not be met, she of course could apply for a variance with you guys for those issues to be waived from compliance. But technically, she would need to come into compliance with all of these currently existing R1 standards. And I think the most notable would be the division of the properties. The other important thing to point out, I think to Mr. Purvis's point, is when you divide those properties, that tax assessor is going to have a base value for each piece of dirt. She will in the future be required, once she subdivides, to get 2 tax bills, not 1.
And the house that you live in, does it meet setback requirements now?
I have no idea what those requirements are.
Since it's on the same property as the other one, it's obviously an existing non-conforming use. The setback requirements would probably be met with the positioning of the house that she occupies.
Not the one she occupies, the rental home?
The rental home,
Because that road was cut in after it was built.
and that would depend on where they drew the line subdividing the property, whether or not it met setback requirements. And also, since, well, what's Miss Marlene?
Marlene.
Her property accesses Business 10 through her property too, so there'd have to be access easements and things like that recorded as
So a
well.
curb cut would have to be made off of?
No, they could continue to utilize the driveway that's there now, as long as they had the access easement. They could have a shared driveway arrangement.
She just said the highway owns the access.
The highway owns the access that comes up
Now,
to
if you
my
need to
house.
speak, you need to come up. You need to come up here if you're
Oh,
going to
I'm
speak.
sorry. Please excuse me.
Ms. Gear, have you actually gone to the tax assessor's office and told them what you wanted to do and to take the whole property?
Yes.
What the bill would be, including the house?
He could not give me an idea because commercial rates, as we talked about last week, are $250.
But if he took the property and just plugged it in as residential, he should be able to give you some kind of tax bill to tell you what this would be. So you're looking at the money that you're looking for, because obviously this is what you're trying to do, is lower your tax bill.
Right.
But I don't want the council to come in and rezone this property, and then the way the tax situation works, when you get 2 bills now, it's higher than what you're actually paying now. I think you may need to go back and do that homework and get actual figures before you come and want to rezone it. Unless you want to continue with the rezone now. I mean, it's up to you, but I don't think you've completely studied what you're asking for to make sure that you gain what you're trying to gain.
Right, I understand what you're saying. When I spoke with him, I believe his name is Rick, I don't know his last name, he said that the property value should be around $30,000, should be lowered to $30,000, and he said that was just, I don't think he plugged any numbers in, he just thought about
I
it.
don't know
So.
if I would go on assumptions if I were you.
Right.
But it's totally up to you. We will continue this right now with council if you choose to.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like it might go down a little bit, but
I just want to make sure that she's
If they-
back for what she's going to get
Right.
what's out.
but if your zoning request gets approved tonight, it's going to be contingent upon a variance request as well. I mean, there's no way around that
No, and that,
because her lot doesn't conform to R1.
well, she just has to change it.
I mean, we could approve the rezone contingent upon her
bringing it into
conforming to
compliance.
R1. I mean, 2 homes don't fit on R1 zoning, period. So you'd have to do a survey and do a few other things. So
That's
during that period of time,
I
you
know,
could,
I've had a survey.
I mean, we could approve it, right, with a variance, and then during that period of time, she could talk to the tax assessor, and then maybe come back, and then when we talk about the variance.
So do we approve it with the variance, or do we approve it with the condition she brings it into compliance?
That's what I'm saying.
It's
Well,
not a
even then,
variance so much, it's approved, conditioned upon her bringing it into compliance, right?
No, we would actually probably approve it, and she would have to come back and ask for the variance.
that's what, Norman's right, because the variant, without the variance, it's gonna
So
be,
it's not for us to tell her what she have to do. It'd be her responsibility to come back and ask us for the variance or whatever she need to do after it actually get
without the
approved.
variance, she's putting in another driveway and doing all these things that are gonna cost you a lot of money. So you're gonna, it looks like she's gonna need a variance.
I would like to state DOT owns a lot of that road frontage to Natalie's mailbox, my property. That belongs to DOT. I mean, that's access. I've been there 60 years. I could show him if he wants to come out and look.
2 points of clarification, if I can briefly, just to make sure we're all staying on track. Mr. Larry, your point is generally correct along this bird. Y'all don't have the ability to approve it with a variance because, number one, no variance has been requested, but more importantly, we don't know what the variance is.
Right.
You absolutely can approve the rezone subject to the property being brought into compliance with the existing R1 zoning, and my suggestion would be that a time frame be placed on that subject, that's a stated condition. Additionally, if the council has any desire to table this matter, that's certainly within your purview. However, we have begun the public hearing, so we would need to complete the public hearing and wrap that up, so public hearing will have been completed on the zoning action, and then you can entertain any motions for table.
I don't know if the council wants to table. I think they're ready.
Yeah, I think we're ready to move.
All right, do you have anything else to tell the council?
No, I think that's it. Thank
If
you.
anybody's against you, you'll have 5 minutes to come back up and read what it said, because we're still in a public hearing.
Okay.
Does anyone else in this room like to speak for the rezone of 1035 East Spring Street? Does anybody in this room want to speak against the rezone of 1035 East Spring Street? Hearing none, this public hearing is closed and bring before the council. We'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we rezone 1035 from commercial to residential
R1
to R1
with the stipulation.
with stipulation
Add
of,
that in there.
with stipulation that she come in compliance at, I don't really want to put a date on it because I don't know
Well,
about
it's
it.
going to need a date because you can't just leave it open-ended. I mean,
Well-
whatever you feel comfortable with.
I'd say 90 days would be plenty. 60 to 90 days.
90 days.
Okay. We have a motion by Mr. Garrett.
Okay. Can you tell me what the motion
The
is?
motion is to approve the rezone R1 with the stipulation that she comes back and asks for a variance to get it in conformance with the city code. Okay. No, okay.
I don't understand the variance. I don't understand why we're not making a motion that she brings it into compliance with R1.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, it's not a variance.
If I can restate the motion from Councilman Garrett, I believe your motion, Councilman Garrett, was a motion to rezone the subject property from current zoning to B1 to residential R1 with the condition that the property be brought into compliance of all existing R1 zoning conditions within 90 days.
That's correct.
Okay.
If that's the motion, then I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Just from a discussion standpoint, I'd like to just say that I believe the Planning and Zoning Commission and staff made a correct recommendation that this be denied, because their purpose of those two functions is to comply with the future land use plan, and they did that. With that said, then this council has the prerogative of making further things, and so I support this motion.
Okay, any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That property will be rezoned under the conditions. Okay? Motion passed. Item B, rezone annexation. Road.
this is petition number 16-00084, Selman Bridges Estates LLC. They're wishing to rezone a property of approximately 2.014 acres from R1 County to R1 City. The applicant, Selman Bridges Estates LLC, requests a rezone and an annexation for property located on 0 Coggins Road. Property has 223 feet of road frontage on Coggins Road. The property is presently zoned R1 County. Requested zoning, obviously, R1 City. The requested zoning will permit a use that is suitable in view of the use and development of adjacent and nearby properties. The change of zoning will not adversely affect the existing and adjacent properties. The subject property does not have restricted economic use as currently zoned. The change of zoning will not cause an excessive or burdensome use of existing streets, transportation facilities, utilities, or schools. And the property is in the county, therefore the future land use plan does not apply.
Property owner. You will state your name and you have 2 minutes with council.
Okay, thanks, Mayor, Council. My name is Joey Welch with Reliant Homes. We are owners of this particular property as well as the next one that will come up. But we are looking to annex this portion of property into the city as it coincides with the next item on the list that we'll be discussing next, to annex them both into the cities. That way it's all coming in as one. Not really a lot to say about this particular one, but it has to do with the larger project that is tied to it that makes it all contiguous with the city annexation. So any questions you guys got, I'll be glad to answer any way possible.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak for this rezone annexation? That's 0 Coggins Road. Anyone like to speak against this rezone annexation? Okay, we'll close this part of the public hearing on this matter and bring it before the council. We need 2 motions. One will be, we need a motion for a rezone on 0 Coggins Road.
I'll make that motion.
I second.
Motion by Mr. Little, second by Mr. Garrett. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? The rezone passes. Now we need a motion for annexation into 0 Coggins Road.
So moved.
Mr. Bradley, second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Item C is a rezone annexation to 0 Etchison Road. Patrick.
Thanks again, sir. This is petition 16-00085. The applicant LT Investments LLC, also owned by the owner of Reliant Homes, requesting a annexation and rezone of a property of 192.15 acres for an active adult community. The existing zoning is R1 County. The requested zoning is PRD City, which would be a planned residential development for an active adult community. And the regular boilerplate once again. The code enforcement staff recommendation is for approval. The applicant, LT Investments LLC, requests annexation of the property at 0 Mike Letchison Road. The property has 1,841.296 feet, that's rather specific, of road frontage on Mike Letchison Road. The property is presently zoned R1 County, requested zoning PRD City. Requested zoning will permit a use that is suitable in view of the use and development of adjacent and nearby properties. Change of zoning will not adversely affect the existing and adjacent properties. The subject property does not have restricted economic use as currently zoned. The change of zoning will not cause an excessive or burdensome use of existing streets, transportation facilities, utilities, or schools. And this property is also in the county, therefore the future land use plan does not apply.
Okay. And we'll have you up on it.
Apologize, caught off guard earlier. This is for everyone have a packet or something that they passed out? Okay. This is again for a project called Grand Haven, located off of Mike Letchison Road. Proposed 325 units of active adult community. Active adult community be a gated community, be a private neighborhood. Again, be active adult, which would be age restricted at 55 years or greater. We're actually going to kind of develop it in a way that majority of it's going to be open space. So majority of the open space is actually going to be backing up to all these lots, so that way that all of them has woods and different things behind them. So it really makes it more of a private neighborhood in addition to the gated community as well. We'll have amenities in there, which include shuffleboards, tennis courts, clubhouse, pools, dog parks. These are different amenities for the active adult community to take advantage of, and even different play fields for their grandkids as they come in. Again, it wouldn't be it's be a good addition to the city of Monroe, but no negative impact to the city or schools around here. And again, we've done quite a few of these before in the past, so this wouldn't be our first one, but they'll be developed into phases to where we'll have first phase that'll come out in 104 lots, and then we'll get started building in there, and then go ahead and be developing other phases in conjunction with build out of the first phase. Plan to do it all in one fell swoop, the whole project at one time. Houses consist of 1,400 to 2,500 square foot in size. Price range probably higher 100s, low 200s, all the way up to the 300 potentially, based on size of house and basement or slab chosen. Other than that, we'll be trying to take advantage of many of the city of Monroe utilities that we can take advantage of, including gas and internet and other things that will be included within the neighborhood that we spoke to the city about previously. Any questions you guys got, obviously I'd be here to answer those as needed.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you. All right, anyone want to speak for this rezone or annexation to 0 Michael Edison Road? Would anyone like to speak against this rezone annexation to 0 Michael Edison Road? Okay, hearing none, this closing before the council. We're going to hear again. We're going to need two motions. The first one's a rezone. The second will be an annexation. I need a motion for a rezone 0 Michael Edison Road.
I'll make that motion, Mayor, that we rezone 0 Michael Edison Road.
I have a motion by Mr. Adcock.
Second.
Second by Mr. Garrett. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That passes. I need a motion for an annexation on 0 Michael Edison Road.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Malcolm.
Second.
Second by Mr. Little. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Congratulations. Thank you. Now we'll move into new business. Application of spirituous liquor and beer and wine on premises consumption salamanders.
That application is in order, Mayor.
Property owner, as a business owner here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You can just stay right there.
Okay.
All right.
I move we approve.
Have a motion by Mr. Bragg.
Second.
Second by Mr. Purchase. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Item number 2 is the appointment of the Historic Preservation Commission. And my stuff just went down, but I think the person that's on there wants to be reappointed.
John Lucas.
That's correct.
John Lucas. So if that's okay with you, we'll just entertain a motion.
I move we approve John Lucas's
Second.
reappointment.
Motion by Mr. Bradley, second by Mr. Purvis. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Item number 3 is the approval of the 2016 concert series contracts for DDA. We had a discussion on it last week. Is there any more questions? We can bring Sadie up. It's got all the information in your packet right there. We'll need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion by Ms. Malcolm to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Purvis. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Item number 4 is discussion and approval of the development agreement with Reliant Homes.
Mayor, I'll be happy to take that. Mayor and council, I believe y'all are familiar with this. I'm standing in the gap for one former city administrator, Mr. Chancey, who was handling this and ushering this through. So I'll see if I can give you the details and answer any questions that you have. This is something that we've been working on for a good long time. Essentially, this is a development agreement related to the rezone annexation that you just considered for the 325 home active adult community. In order for that project to have sewer service, a sewer pump needs to be installed. And Rodney, if I speak out of turn on any technical, but also to be able to serve other properties on that side of town around what I call the Walmart, Liberty, First Bank area. It would gravity flow down to that same neck of the woods. So the agreement was discussed and worked on whereby Reliant Homes will go ahead and put in a sewer system that our city engineers have engineered, which is complete, and I can talk about that. They'll put that in now at their cost and give us access to it to use for all future tap-ins that we need for any other properties over on that side of the flow area that would be tapped in. Hofstadter and Associates has done all that engineering. I did not attach the engineering documents to it because it's about 300 pages, but I did attach the bid sheet for you to see, and their estimated bid of the installation of that sewer system is $1,015,000, and that is to get it built and engineered big enough to be able to accept future capacity. Now, the pump would only be big enough at this time for their system, and there would be some pump upgrades in the future, but it'd give us the growth potential in the future to be able to have fewer sewer pumps, lift stations on that side of town. The exchange, if you will, is that Reliant will put all of this in, they'll pay for it up front, and they'll do it now, and we will exchange the value of that through a future credit of tap fees on sewer only. Not tap fees on water, not tap fees on any of the other utilities, but just tap fees on water. I'm sorry, excuse me, tap fees just on sewer, not on water or any of the other utilities, at the $3,000 per home rate, which is our current sewer single-family residential rate, for a maximum 325 lots, which is $975,000. So in theory, we're receiving a $1,015,000 in value project for a credit of $975,000 in tap fees that we will credit against this installation over the next build-out period of time that they do this project. Our engineers will remain in control of the project in the sense that they will have to inspect it, approve it, say that it's been built up to standards, but Reliant Homes and their contractors will build it, they'll pay for all materials, all labor. We won't have any in-kind contribution, we won't have any kind of work on this. They're doing it all on their own. That's the essence of the agreement. You have a good working draft in front of you. If you choose to approve this, we're asking that you approve it subject to further revision by my office, because there are still tweaks that we're working on, because there are some engineering changes that are happening and a few other mechanisms that will need to modify over the next few days. But the essence is an agreement to have Reliant put in this larger sewer system than they would have to, that we can tap into in the future for other developments. They pay for it all now, and in exchange we give them a $975,000 sewer tap fee credit in the future.
Just to clarify, you said they would do this and then we would have access to that system. If I read the agreement correct, they build this, and then in exchange for this credit, they actually deed the sewer system back to the city of Monroe.
Absolutely. I mean, we would own it. We would own it regardless. But yes, right. We would own this sewer lift station.
Okay.
And when I said access, I meant they will give us necessary sanitary sewer easements across this tract that just got rezoned, so that we can have stub outs for the future connectivity. And specifically, just because I spoke to Chad Hofstadter about that, he has placed on the map somewhere certain stub outs to where we can tap in when we need to in the future.
Any other questions for Paul?
And Joey, of course, is here from Reliant. So, and I will say, just to toot Mr. Chancey's horn a little bit, and to toot Reliant's horn a little bit, this is a great example, I think, personally, of government and private industry working together for positive economic development and growth. So, you know, to the extent that we can applaud those that have worked hard on this. Please let's do and encourage other public-private partnerships of this type in the future.
Any other questions? All right. We need to entertain a motion on this.
With everything he just said, I'll motion to approve.
You don't want to repeat it? Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bradford.
Second.
Second by Mr. Wood. All in favor? Opposed? That motion passes. And we look forward to Reliance development. That's going to be a big development on that side of town. We certainly appreciate y'all coming in and seeing Monroe.
Appreciate the city's help.
All right, that ends our regular meeting. We need a motion to adjourn into executive session for a short executive session meeting.
So much.
Have a motion by Ms. Martin.
Second.
Second by Mr. Garrett. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the meeting adjourned, regular meeting adjourned.